Let's see. Okay, we're live. It took a little bit. We had some technical difficulties, as expected sometimes. But I am with the amazing, beautiful, intelligent Anita, and just world-class person, coach, and just an amazing woman in general in business. And lucky to have you on the show today. And I want to pick your brain and just let's add value to the industry. We want to talk about so much, but why don't you just tell everyone who's going to be watching this a little bit about you, your background, and what your mission is.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for those very sweet words, Jesse. I think I want to date you now. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, all right.
I appreciate it, though.
You're welcome anytime. So as you know, Jesse, and maybe a lot of your viewers, I have been in real estate now for longer than maybe some of these viewers are alive, which freaks the hell out of me. But that's so licensed forever, and real estate's been my career forever. And I have been, after selling for 20 years, I went into training and coaching, and I've been doing that now for the last 13, 14 years in real estate. So was that, let's see, did I answer all your questions?
No, that's perfect. I mean, and I mean, your expertise and experience in the industry makes you just the right person to talk to, especially I think during this time, especially we're starting to get into the holiday season. Agents are getting lazy, right? I'm just going to say it how it is. Agents are going to get lazy. They're going to start shutting down, and brokers are going through the struggle of, okay, we're going through potentially a slow season. Agents are going to stop working. How do I recruit? How do I retain? How do I increase productivity? How do I get these agents off the fence and get their butt into gear? So I think this is the right time to especially talk to just a phenomenal coach like you on what has to happen next for everyone to be successful.
You know, that's really quite a question that a lot of people are asking, because we're in such a disruptive market right now. And for agents to be sitting back and just like, oh, I don't want to deal with this is going to be a real problem. So there's two things that you put on the table. One of them is, how do we get agents to get back into action when they really want to get out of action for the holidays? Mm-hmm. All right, so that's one of them. And then the other one is what do brokers do in this really changing market to attract agents? So one of the things that I've always had a problem with, Jesse, and by the way, I'm getting a little bit of a feedback. Are you?
I'm good on my end.
Okay, I'll just live with it, because we all know that the hearing thing was a problem.
I'll turn down my volume. Maybe that'll help a little bit. There you go.
Right. There has always been a little bit of a low bar to get into real estate. And it has definitely caused us some problems in the past and is rearing its ugly head right now. So wanting to take the next really almost 2 months off in real estate is typical for the industry, but we lose market share, right? Yep. So you understand this. One of the things I think most agents don't realize is, well, nobody's selling their house right now, so why should I bother? You should bother because you lose market share.
Yeah. And they are selling.
And they are. Yes, they are. I'm continuously talking to agents and saying it may be lower, but homes are selling. Mm-hmm. Right? And people are buying homes. And so why don't you go out and get that business while everybody else is gone? Well, everybody else is hung up for the season. Go ahead and go get your unfair share, as they say. Right?
Well, and a lot of agents too, if they take the next 2 months off, if brokers think that agents are going to take the next 2 months off, then either way, either if you're trying to recruit a buyer seller or recruit an agent, you take 2 months off, it's going to take you 30, 60, 90 days to even build up that momentum again. And now you're already half a year behind.
It's incredible, right? I cannot believe how many times agents will say, well, the last 2 months of the year, nothing ever happens. And then they'll say, well, nothing really ever happens from like August through September. So that doesn't work, right? And then an agent will say, well, not much happens at the beginning of the year until after taxes or after whatever. And so basically they've made it to where truthfully, they've got about 2 months of the year that in their own mind, they're saying, well, those are the right months to sell. And that is an order taker's mentality. That is somebody's just deciding that I'm going to hope that the business comes to me. And if that's what they're thinking, they are in the wrong industry.
So if we're Anita 10, 15, 20 years ago when you started into real estate, knowing what you know now and knowing that most of these agents are going to be taking the next 2 months off, what would you be doing right now to go, now is such an opportunity for me to crush my competition and gain market share? Like, what is your go-to?
So I might not worry so much about, if I'm making calls and I'm talking to people and they say they don't want to do anything until the end of the year. I'm going to change the beginning of the year. I'm going to change my focus. I'm going to change what is a win for me, right? Because if I'm in the middle of the summer and somebody says, oh, I'm going to wait a few months, what, right? But if it's the end of the year and I'm expecting that, then what I'm saying is fabulous. Mm-hmm. So I call them, whatever, December 20th or whatever, but I'm the one who's in. And I'm going to be the one who gets there first, because everybody else is going to start right around January 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. I've already got the listing. So I'm going to be going straight through. And yeah, I'm going to take a few days off for Christmas and all that stuff. But do we really need 2 months?
Yeah.
We are not in education here. So, right? Go be an elementary school teacher or something like that. Don't do this business, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking at, again, gaining all those people that are going to do something at the beginning of the year. I'm going to be that one. And I am going to get lucky in the middle of that and find somebody that needs to sell right now.
Well, you're planting that seed. You're planting that seed way in advance.
Yes. So I'm not going to let myself get freaked out about the fact that I'm getting a lot more rejections perhaps than I might want. Yeah.
So I love that, because it all comes down, and we can switch gears to brokers, but it's all coming down to continue to add value, right? Just because lead generation does not have to mean that it's just phone calls, emails, and Facebook messages. It could be just adding value. Now's a great time. The holiday season, it's to add value. Be thankful, show gratitude, do something different than what they're used to. And then from a broker's perspective, like, what are you seeing right now, or what would you tell brokers? Like, I think the biggest struggle for companies to recruit and retain is a company's lack of adding value. Like, learn to add value to your people. Like, they're paying you a split. They're paying you a commission. Why? Like, what value are you providing? Like, what are you seeing from your perspective where brokers are just failing miserably, or that are just crushing it and doing a great job at adding value to their agents?
Okay. And I'm really glad that you brought this up, because that whole adding value thing is something that I teach all the time. I think
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. So a lot of realtors have been taught that what you do is you get on the phone or whatever, and you say, hey, do you know anybody who needs to buy or sell real estate? Right. And one of the reasons that they have a very low success rate on that, and they're taught, don't worry that the success rate is low. It's okay. But the success rate can be much higher. So I always tell people, if you're doing that, then you're making withdrawal from somebody as opposed to a deposit. And so every time you communicate with somebody, you've got to be making a deposit. Wouldn't it be wonderful, Jesse, if I'm on the phone and it's Thanksgiving time or it's Christmas and I'm just calling saying, hey, I'm just so thankful that you're in my life, etc. And I haven't talked to you in a while. I just wanted to call you and say I'm thankful for you. Well, the very same thing that agents need to be doing, adding value, brokers do too. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things that brokers are really freaking out about right now is they've got to be doing a lot of things to attract agents, right? You've got to have technology. The Ma and Pa brokerages right now are really struggling because we've got to keep up with technology. And if you don't have that to offer, that's kind of a big deal, right? And then there's the split, right? And then how do you create either a sense of vision for people that makes them want to be with you, or a sense of community? And that's where I think brokerages are really blowing it. Is there, I was always here.
We're back. Or at least we're back online. I'm sure PG&E had something to do with it.
Doc got it. And you know what? They're next. We're talking about them next.
We're talking about them next.
Doc got it. Okay, so where did I break off?
Technology. We have to stay up to technology.
So if you're a broker, you got to be working on making sure that you have enough technology and that it's up to date enough that an agent is going to have the tools that they need. Then you're going to have to work on a split, right? Because it matters. Just like you're saying, they're paying you a split. You need to be worth it.
100%.
Right? And then the last one, I think that they're not, that brokers are not thinking about that much right now. It is the fact that you've either got to create a vision that those agents are going to buy into to come to work with you, or you've got to create a home and a community. Mm-hmm. right? So everybody's focusing on tech right now, and it's really important, but they're kind of forgetting that agents are a lot of times, they're kind of the Lone Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so great. So we can be a little bit, where we're not very employable because we're off doing our own things and stuff like that, but we still get a little lonely. We still want community. We still need a vision. And I really feel like brokers are lacking in one of those three areas.
Well, and you bring up community, you bring up technology, and what's funny is like I own a tech company,
Right.
and I always tell everybody it's like it's here to support your business. It's not here to replace what you do, right? In regards to an agent's perspective, it's add value, it's build a community. And what I see most of the time on Facebook and on Instagram is it's good, but agents are spending more time building a community with other agents versus going out and spending a community with people that they can actually service.
I look at agents' social media all the time. I'm like, that's awesome. You have 2,000 people and 1,800 of them are agents. And you're not going to sell. Once they're out of town or out of state, you're not going to sell to them.
Yeah. It's like, and then on top of that, even if they're out of state, are you marketing to them? Great. Here's how we can work as referral partners. Let's build a relationship from a referral level. But it's, no, let's complain about this. Ask about this. What CRM are you using? What CRM is best? How do you get leads? Are you paying this much for leads? It's like, add value. Learn to add more value and connect with people and build a community.
See,
use technology to leverage your business.
Yeah, but you're right. It is only leverage because people do a lot. They make a lot of mistakes. So social media is the most amazing thing for real estate agents these days. And yet they're making terrible mistakes. One of them is that they're literally preaching to the choir. They have a bunch of other agents there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that is one of the problems, right? And it can.
Misery loves company.
I think so. I mean, it can be a useful thing if you've got people out of state and you're working referrals, but if they're local, then there is no point.
And like what I always think about is from an agent's perspective, and not even that long ago, what if you ripped away social media? What would your business be like?
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because if you think about this, and it was an interesting thing I was thinking about the other day, because I saw a funny meme around it. And it was, if you go to look at Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook page or Instagram page, like the dude posts like once a month and he owns the company. Right? So how value is social media to somebody who owns that company? It's like, it's like, how much are you using it? Are you using it the right way? Because basically from a social media perspective, I heard somebody say this, is that if you're not selling on social media, you're being sold. Those are the only two options.
Okay.
Right? But there's a way to build a community, that you're not being sold. You're not just selling, you're building a community, but you have to be very intentional about it. Like when you look at social media and what this industry is doing right now, what are things you're like, okay, I like that. And there's other things where you're just shaking your head.
Okay. So some of the, because social media is a big deal right now and agents are sometimes afraid of it, they hire it out, right? They'll hire out somebody else to do their social media. I can spot it in a second. Yep. Right? I mean, somebody else is doing that. And the whole point of social media, at least as far as I'm concerned, is so that people know and like you. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're just sending me this, do you like this family room better or this family room? I already know.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Right? Would you want to cook in a kitchen like this? That's the sort of thing that people, you get it, right? Yeah. So they're blowing that or, and it is really becoming rampant now in social media. Come check out my open house or come do this or come do that. And it's all business. Mm-hmm. Right? So even the problem with brokers, it's kind of the same thing on a different level. Somebody that you and I used to always say, that whether I own a brokerage or I own a real estate, just my own real estate thing. It's the same thing. It's lead generation, it's creating community and et cetera. So they're making huge mistakes like that. And so are the brokers. It's about me. It's about me. It's about me. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Nobody cares. So true. And what's funny about that and what you're saying about community and building relationships, like, my wife's a hairstylist. So much of my business came from her referrals because she's there building a relationship, talking to somebody. Because I'm I'm sure most women think that their hairstylist is their therapist for most of the time, from what I hear.
They are.
They are, right? And so like literally, like I got a lot of my business because she's building relationships, and they're like, okay, well you're thinking about selling your house, thinking about buying a house, talk to my husband. And like you're spending that time. A lot of my business early on in my career was from my past, my coworkers, my friends, people I coach football with, my BNI network, like people that I was building relationships with.
Human, and actually seeing them. The other day I was at a real estate function because Jesse, me too. I got to the point where I spent so much time on social media, I wasn't really getting out and actually seeing the people that I know and love type thing, right? So I thought, man, I can't do that. I cannot just continuously sit behind a screen. Started going to some real estate events and stuff like that. And I just took on a client this afternoon that I talked with 3 years ago. And he walked up to me at the real estate event and said, I didn't even remember him at the moment, right? And he's like, we got to do this. And I'm thinking, first off, I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? Right? But I don't think if I hadn't been at that real estate event, I wonder, would he have become my coaching client? Right?
Yeah.
So
what's that phrase where it's like just getting up, getting dressed, and getting there, going to work, whatever, is just showing up, right? Showing up is
90% of the deal or something like that.
You know, it's getting up, and I think that technology makes it so easy to hide behind it.
Yeah, it's our best and it's our worst thing.
So moving into 2020, so if you were to give one tip to an agent or a broker, I mean, my tip would be to work with you. Like they need to do that.
You're awesome. Okay.
They need to do that, hands down. Because I think that if they, and I'm going to preface this because I say that because you're not just all business. I think that when you're in this profession, you need to understand that you can have a life too and live a fulfilling life at the same time. And I think you're really intentional and focused on that as well, and can really coach around both sides of it because you have been on both sides of it. So that's why I say like anybody in the industry should work with you because you have experience on all levels within there. So I think that's just phenomenal. But if you had one piece of advice to give to an agent and one piece of advice to give to a broker and going, this is what I would want for you or what I would advise you to do for 2020, what would that be?
Okay. So one of them would be not to spend too much money on technology, not to spend too much money on, internet leads. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think some of it is fine. I'm not a real fan of internet leads for the very same reason that we're talking. They're cold leads. They're hard to work. Typically they're going to be low dollar, low loyalty. And, a lot of times it's, I was hoping it was a rent, or I was hoping it was a lease to own. So there's a lot of that. So you spend a lot of that money. And then again, a lot of them don't know how to work the lead in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I would tell them to be very careful about how much they spend on that. Mm-hmm. And I would also tell them it's time for them to get their selling skills up. I'm saying it's time.
Tell me more about that. Let's talk about that.
I don't know if it's...
What does that mean? Because I love it.
I see people now and they're working and they're thinking they're doing a great job when they're in a sales situation and they're blowing it. They're missing cues right and left. They're actually sometimes offending people because they're so busy trying to think about what have I got to say? What's my next script? What's my next whatever? That this person will say, by the way, I have cancer. And they're like, but if you did move, where would you go?
Yeah. Oh, you're so right.
And it's just, it's horrible. I actually was watching some people do that. And I just stopped. I said, did you hear what the person just said? Did you hear them? Stop everything. That's what they want to talk about right now. Mm-hmm. And I talked to some people. I was with an owner of a company yesterday, and it was about a personal situation, right? But they were missing the cues why they were having all of this interpersonal conflict. And I think it's because everything's great, and then we can always take it too far. Scripting is great. But if you take it so far that you're not listening anymore, then you've missed it. So selling and selling, because what I always talk about with people is you've got to get behind that protective wall. Mm-hmm. right? And if you don't, then it's just like throwing things against that wall, right? So humor does it. Compassion does it. This is where social media does a great job, because if you can actually get your tribe to know you and like you as a human being, you've already gotten through that wall, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. Arguing does not get through the wall. So there's an incredible skill set when somebody like comes off and they say something is just totally wrong about real estate, right? Well, I'm just going to wait for those Bay Area buyers to come around, right? Or some, one of those things, right? And you say, well, that never works. Well, that's not going to help you. So you say, yeah, that's great. But Bay Area buyers, wonderful. Even though in your head, you're like, that is so stupid, right?
Yeah.
How would the Bay Area buyers not know what we don't know? We all have the same information, right?
Exactly.
You want to talk about that, and you want to get around that wall and almost like grabbing them by the arm, because we're buddies, we're friends, we're agreeing here, and then you lead them into the actual right conclusion. It's an art form, and people are not investing in the art of sales.
And when I hear you talking, it's almost like you're saying sales is like building trust, rapport, and real relationship.
Gosh, what a thought. What a concept, right?
Right.
The weird thing, Jesse, is that we've got all of this incredible technology coming on, right? And it's an incredible disruptor, right? We've got iBuyers, we've got instant offers, we've got all of this stuff. Are we going to be a virtual real estate company? Are we going to be sticks and brick real estate? All of this stuff that's coming. But in the end, just like you said, if we're not actual human beings, none of it matters.
And I think like you hit it right on the nail on the head right there. It's like, be a better human being and sales will follow. Because I mean, I don't know how many times in my career that so many people in our industry, if they're not ready to buy or sell right now, like I'm done with you. And there's certain times when I've helped people that I'm like, I'm not going to make any money off of you. And it could be for 3 or 4 years. And then 5 years later, they're like, oh, I want to buy a house. My grandma wants to sell her house. My mom wants to move and relocate to here. So it's like, it's like, it just comes to fruition when you're just a better human being, and it just sales falls in line with that.
And it can also keep you from being terribly frightened about the future. By the way, I apologize for my watchdog. Did the best I could do, but yeah.
This is life. Life happens.
He's an 18-pound watchdog, man. Jack Russell, gotta love him. Actually, gotta hate him. So anyway, and here's the thing: if you can actually do that, then you don't have to worry about whether we've got Open Door coming up, or Red, or Purple Bricks, or all of these different market disruptors. Because yes, the industry is going to change, and in a lot of ways, it should change. All of these market disruptors are telling us that we need to change. We do. But if I am really good at being a better human being, right? And if I have the art of subtle persuasion, subtle influence, and I know how to get past these walls and things like that, then I'm not going to worry about what's going to happen in the future. Because again,
planting the seeds.
Yep. Right. Exactly. Well, just like this this client that I took on yesterday. What? I talked to him almost 3 years ago. But and honestly, this is where social media's got. Apparently, he's been paying attention to me with social media. That trust and respect. I think I show myself as a human being on social media. And so gained that respect, gained that trust, and there's the sale. It was 3 years.
And you're very authentic with everything you do. And I think that because of social media, more and more people can smell bullshit.
Oh yeah.
I just think that people can sense it and go, authentic or not, like bullshit or not. And it's just very easy to point out now when you can tell if somebody's making a post for their own gain or if they're making it to actually impact and add value.
You just made me think something. It's the used car salesman. It's just now it's all online, right? It's the same thing. So we always make fun of like the used car salesman or something like that because they're tacky, right? Because they're all about what's in it for me, because they don't care about you, because they don't listen, etc. And then we don't pay attention to what we're doing. We don't pay attention. I remember your post when you talked about having migraines. right? And I've known you for a long time. I did not know you suffered from migraines. The second I saw that post, because I have them too. Mm-hmm. Right before we did this, I took an Imatrix because I felt one coming on, right?
Oh.
But the second I saw that I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesse has migraines as well. Man, that sense of connection, man, I know what that pain is like. I feel it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe some people would have thought it was an act of weakness to tell somebody. Mm-hmm. Right? No, strength.
Yeah. It's strength. I've had, it was funny is I had family members that have known me my whole life after I posted that, have no clue.
There is somewhat of a problem with being too strong.
Yeah, no, totally. And it that, like, I think it was my wife, Rochelle, she was the one, like, you should post something because I'm sure that other people, and what was funny is when I did that, I found Facebook groups, I found websites, like just a community of people that go through the same thing. And I think really that's what social media does for the real estate industry is, like, they feel like they're going through it. They're in battle together. I think some is positive, but a lot of it's just bitching and complaining, and not being productive.
So one of the things that I'm sure you've read the book Expert Secrets or mm-hmm. .com Secrets by Russell Brunson.
Yep.
He talks all the time about the 4 elements of the attractive character, and it's genius, mm-hmm. right? Now, it also can be used for some. It's because it's powerful stuff, mm-hmm. right? Create a common enemy. Yep. Is one of the ways that you can get people to like you, right? Mm-hmm. Is that your enemy and my enemy, you and I must be friends if we have the same enemy, right? Yep. But that works. But if you don't do it with integrity, then what happens is it begins to implode upon itself. Yep. It'll be a short-term fix, right? If you and I decide that we hate Joe Blow down the street, you and I might be great friends as long as we hate Joe together. Yeah, I can't stand Joe Blow. I can't stand him either, right? And so we're identifying together about hating Joe. But then Joe goes away, and then we look at each other and are like, well, I don't remember if I liked you either. Right? Yeah, do I like you as a person? Yeah. I like you as a person. I just like that you hated Joe too. Well, and what's interesting about this entire concept is you have everyone, like the industry, going and having that common enemy, right? Oh my gosh, buyer Joe, seller Jane, like bitching and complaining about buyers and sellers. And then they're like, man, why are they using Open Door? Why are they using Redfin? Why are they using Zillow? But you just spent time complaining and bitching about them because you're not providing the level of service. And now you're surprised that they want to find an alternative to work and streamline the process. Amen. Right? So if we've got things like, I'm going to use purple bricks because they're already gone, so we can, so it's not like I'm offending anybody, but purple bricks, right? They had an idea, mm-hmm. and it wasn't a terribly bad idea, but it definitely was going to disrupt the industry, and it didn't work because in the end, and this is where I really think that we're going to be okay in the end, is in the end, real estate, we are usually selling used products. Mm-hmm. And used products come with all kinds of things that artificial intelligence just really isn't going to do well with, or something like that, right? So we're okay with that. I think we're okay. So why are we so afraid? Well, and we should look at purple bricks and the red doors and the open doors and all that stuff, Redfin, excuse me, and say, what is the market trying to tell us? Instead of, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Yep. No, we should look and say, the market is trying to tell us something. Why would I sell my house for for what, 65 cents on the dollar to some of these instant offer people? Mm-hmm. Why would I be willing to do that instead of using the traditional route? Okay, I'm either ignorant about how much mm-hmm. I'm losing, or it's so repulsive to me that I'm willing to lose that much money. If that's the case, then both of those need to be worked on by our industry. Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely correct. And what's funny is when I heard Purple Bricks was leaving the U.S., mm-hmm. my first thought, and I even told my team, I said, Purple Bricks leaving proved one thing to me, that sellers, the consumer, is willing to pay for value. They're not looking for the cheapest alternative. They will pay for value. We are doing a shitty job of portraying and illustrating that value. And you know what makes me sad, Jesse, is there's a lot of good real estate agents out there. There
Oh,
really
100%.
are.
Really
Oh
agree.
my God, a ton of them. And I get that the very few really mess it up for the rest of us. I do get a little kind of frustrated with NAR and all of that, not calling out some of this mess.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what that's what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm a little bummed, but they're not. But we as an entire community are not showing, and even the realtor commercials on TV, what are they saying? They're not saying anything really worthwhile.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're kind of dorky. So we've got to look at the industry and say, what is the malady that we need to correct? We should invite the idea that there's competition out there. We should look at that. I know, and just say, what can we learn from this? Because we can do better.
Yeah, we could do a lot better. And it's really just simply the consumer is demanding more transparency. They're demanding better communication. Yeah. And I think that the more and more of that an agent and a broker can provide to their agent or their client, they'll have a better retention and they'll have a better increase in productivity just by providing more transparency.
You know, what's the irony in that is that we use the internet so that we don't have to talk to a human being, but it's because we don't trust right now.
Yes.
We don't trust. So it all gets back down to the trust again. That's why we have the internet, is because we just let me do my thing. Don't get to me until I'm ready. Right. Yeah. And then when I'm ready, I'd kind of like to do it myself because I don't trust you.
Well, and I think, so what solves that? Like, what can an agent do? What can a broker do to alleviate that or really portray, this is what I'm worth?
Well, it ain't no quick fix. I mean, we didn't get into this overnight, right? So we're not getting out of it overnight either. But a lot of it, one of the things I learned was that, and I was a good agent, but I wouldn't tell people what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize for years that they were thinking that I wasn't doing anything. And you know how this is. So meanwhile, you're making these calls, you're trying to keep the deal together, and you're freaking out, and you're just stressed to the nines making it happen. So it's a smooth transaction for them. And then they're like, yeah, but what did she really do?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we need to do is we need to be really clear about what we're doing without creating drama.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh my gosh, that agent is such a creep, I'm going to protect you. Or no, hey, there was a look at me with my little phone, right?
Is that a flip phone? Like what is that?
It's a phone that's more delicate or something. I'm not really sure. I have my fancy phone. Hello. Okay, so we you make the phone call and you say, hey, listen, I just wanted to let you know I've already taken care of this, but this situation came up, and I dealt with it this way and that way, and I just want to let you know it happened and it's already taken care of for you. Mm-hmm. So you've taken the drama out of it. You also you didn't raise their own heartbeat by drawing them into it when it was too soon. And then like, I've done it for you already. So when you know you've done it right is when they say, oh, thank you. If you get a thank you out of them, you know you've done it right. Yes. And I think that is one of the problems with real estate agents. We get it taken care of, and we don't tell people.
Communicate that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a client that said, hey, you communicated with me way too much.
Never. No. Stop calling me. Stop telling me what's happening. No, they've never done that.
Yeah, I'm tired of knowing what's going on in my transaction. Please stop.
And one last thing, too. We are dealing with people having it doesn't have to be last, but I know. I just want to make sure you've got it. We are dealing with people that this is a huge transaction for them, and it's a personal transaction.
Yes. Right?
It's really personal. So if I don't like the way the guy's parking his car next door to the house I want to buy or something like that, it might feel stupid to the realtor, but it matters to us as consumers. And so we may not always act as well behaved in a highly personal situation because it's volatile, it's personal. And so as agents also, we have to get used to the idea that our people are going to be a little stressed out. We have to forgive them for that. Mm-hmm. Right? We have to recognize that they're
being a better human.
Be a better human. Oh, good Lord. Is that all it's not all it comes down to, but in the end, it kind of does, doesn't Isn't it?
You know, I mean, when you think about it, yeah, I guess you can kind of just funnel it to that one thing.
Be a better human. It's
Yeah,
not as
just
easy.
be, you know, and yeah, it's just be a better human. I mean, if you think about it that way, would that increase sales? Would that increase relationships? Would that increase productivity? Would that increase team culture? Would that increase office culture? Like, you can go back to that and think that that would solve so much if you were just like, okay, maybe be a better human and not be self-centered in a way that I'm going to do everything if it benefits me.
I even think the art of selling, now that you're mentioning it, right? Because I'm like, yeah, you got to be a better human, but you do need to know how to sell. But here's the thing. Even when you're selling, the most important thing is to get inside their head and figure out what they want and why they're behaving the way that they are. And that means you can't be worried about yours.
Yeah.
Right?
And when we do that, what's the best way to understand someone's mindset? Ask questions and listen.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And we don't. We do this. We're going to script. We're going to slick. We're going to be so slick that they're never going to know what hit them.
Yep.
We wonder why there's no trust.
Yeah. I want them to know how much I know. I want them to know that I know the stats and I know what I'm doing and I know this and I know this. And it was surprising I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody a few days ago, and they were asking me about my time as an agent and selling. And I said, what's funny is I never used a listing presentation ever. And I mean, it was my way. I'm not saying it's the right way. I literally walked in and I just talked to them. I had a conversation. I asked them questions. What was your goal? What do you want to achieve? What is your time frame? And just kept asking questions. I said, okay, cool. Now let's go through this. And I never went in with an actual presentation because for me, that was not authentic. I wanted to go in and say, great, how can I add value to you? And the best way for me to learn how to add value to you is to tell me how you want me to add value to you.
You know, I did use listing presentations. Of course. Now I'm also it's a little more old school. Right. But I did use listing presentations, and I would even do it when it was like my best friend. I sold my house one time and I basically walked in and I said, you already know me. I know you're already going to sell, but I want to make sure you understand the process. I don't want to miss anything. And so, and here's the thing. If I understand who I'm speaking to, my listing presentation might be flip, 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 and we're done.
Yep.
It might be we're going to go for an hour and I'm going to, because it matters what you need.
Yes.
Right. But whether you use a listing presentation or not, see, Jesse, you know how to sell, and you have a lot of, you have a real strong presence about you that people tend to follow. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great. And there's a tremendous amount of energy. And so you walk in a room, and even if you don't have a listing presentation, you can pull that off really well. Some of the weaker ones might need a listing presentation. Keep them on track.
Keep on track, yeah. There were times I probably should have used one.
Well,
but we all have our bad days. Okay, so I don't want to keep up taking all your time. I think we've already gone way what I said we would go. But I could sit here and talk to you for hours, and luckily we go to the same gym, so we can.
Right, because someday I want to ask you more about your understanding of technology in this, because I think there is a huge role of technology in real estate now, more than there's ever been, and it changes so fast. There's just a lot to that.
There is, and I can talk for hours on that too.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? Because I think you add so much value to this industry, and I think that a lot of people in this industry should work with you, and I think the right people will get so much value from what you provide. So how like Instagram, Facebook, email, like how can people contact you and go, I need to work with this amazing lady?
I just love you to death. Okay, I'm back to that whole dating you thing. It'll just be my heart. Okay.
We need Rochelle to sign off on that.
Yeah, because that's the problem, right? Okay. So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn quite a bit. You can find me there. My phone number is there as well. I mean, it's my business line, 916-223-2803. So I think the easiest way, find me on social media. It's really easy, Anita Hodges, and I'm easy to find. Email Anita Speaks, the number 2, the letter U at gmail.com.
Love it. And you know what I love about, last thing I'll say is what I love about your content and what you do is like, it reminds me of Gary Vee, but not in the way that Gary Vee presents, but in the way that Gary is all about just every time you hear him speak and add value and content, he's never asking for anything in return. Like a lot of the influencers on social media who are providing value and content because they want you to click here and subscribe here and join this. Like whenever I see you add value, it's like authentic value and content to go, here's what you can use today. Here's what you can use tomorrow. Here's what you can use whenever. And whether anybody wants to work with you as a coach, like they need to follow you because you do provide very authentic content. And you're just not asking for that click here, do this, do that, like constantly. And I think that that's huge right now.
Private message me because they follow me because they know they can trust what I have to say, and it matters. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, so, Anita, it's been such a pleasure. Like I said, I could talk to you for hours, and we'll have to do this again.
I love it.
Definitely soon.
Okay. I'd love it. And thank you for having me on. Jesse, you are amazing. And just, I would talk about your technical stuff, but all I'd be able to say is, wow, he's awesome.
It's as a start. I appreciate that. But no, we'll have to talk to you more about that later. But no, I appreciate that. And we'll make sure that in the show notes and we get it out there, we put all your contact information and tag you in all the posts because people do need to follow you and hear your message. So again, thank you. I'm going to end it right now, but stay on for a second and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay. Thanks, Jesse.